Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to go my NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver review. Starting off first, we go right into night one. It is Pete Dunne versus Kushida. Starting off the match, pretty much a back and forth matchup. Dunne does hit a devastating X-Plex on Kushida, throws Kushida right onto the apron. Dunne and Kushida both exchange chops in the middle of the ring. Kushida then hits a springboard back elbow on Dunne. Kushida's keeping the pace at this point. Dunne then hits a joint manipulation on Kushida. Dunne then quickly hits the bitter end on Kushida, pins it for the 3, and your winner of the match is Pete Dunne. Again, this was a really good match, man. For an opening match for night one, this was not a bad match. In my preview predictions that I have done, I have picked Pete Dunne to get the win. Now, I don't know what's next for Pete Dunne or Kushida, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Hats off to Pete Dunne for getting the win in this match. After that match, we go to our next match on the card as well. It is the Gauntlet match, which the winner will go on to night 2 to face Johnny Gargano for his North American Championship. The competitors in this match were Isaiah Swerve Scott, Leon Ruff, Dexter Lumis, Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, and LA Knight. Starting off the match, pretty much a back and forth matchup. Swerve ends up pinning Ruff. Ruff is eliminated. It's a great showing also by Dexter Lumis. Lumis and Reed both exchange in the middle of the ring, which got the crowd completely hyped. Reed then hits a Samoan drop on LA Knight. Reed then hits a senton on LA Knight, pins him for the 3, and LA Knight is now eliminated from this match. Lumis is also eliminated as well. Swerve then hits a roll-up on Grimes, pins him for the 3, and Grimes is now eliminated from the match. Reed and Swerve are the final 2 competitors in this match. Swerve gets to the top rope, hits a 450 splash off the top rope on Reed. Reed then gets up, hits a splash off the top rope of his own on Swerve, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match, and moving on to night 2 to challenge Johnny Gargano, is Bronson Reed. Again, this was a really fantastic match, man. Back and forth. All the competitors in this match were absolutely fantastic. In my preview and predictions, man, I was torn between 2, man. I had Dexter Lumis or LA Knight. And the reason why is because I thought Dexter Lumis was getting that push. And I like the gimmick, man. He gives off that weird kind of aura around him, very mysterious. LA Knight, a.k.a. Eli Drake. The reason why I picked him is because he's kind of the new kid on the block for NXT. Obviously, he's been around the business for a very long time. But I thought they were going to push him. And push him to the opportunity to have a match against Johnny Gargano. Now, do I think he would have beat Gargano? No, I don't. But I think it would have made for a great match. But hats off to Bronson Reed for getting the win in this match. After that, we can go into our next match on the card as well. It is Walter defending his NXT UK Championship against Tommaso Ciampa. Starting off the match, Walter lands a devastating chop on Ciampa. Back and forth matchup between both guys. Walter hits a German suplex on Ciampa. Ciampa gets up, hits what looks like a white noise off the top rope on Walter that looked absolutely devastating. Walter and Ciampa then both exchange chops in the ring. Walter then hits 2 devastating power bombs on Ciampa. Walter then hits another chop on Ciampa, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still NXT UK champion, is Walter. Again, to me, this was the match on night 1 for me. One of them, I should say. I was very much looking forward to this match. And again, man, Walter, and I stated this in the past, man, Walter kind of gives off, I'm not going to sit here and say he's Andre the Giant. I'm not going to do that. But he kind of gives off that aura of an Andre the Giant, man. The theme music, how he carries himself in the ring, the whole attire that he brings to the ring, the jacket, man, it just kind of gives me a little bit of Andre the Giant vibes, man. You kind of hope and wish that maybe he had like a Bobby Heenan kind of manager to go with him, man. To be out there in the ring, because it would just be like, to me, it would look like Andre the Giant in a way. Not the same height or same stature, but kind of the way they both kind of carry themselves, man. Hats off to Walter for getting the win in this match and retaining his NXT UK Championship. After that, moving on, we go to our next match on the card as well. It is the Grizzled Young Veterans and MSK versus Legado del Fantasma in an NXT Tag Team Championship match. Again, this was a great match. Wild and Mendoza pretty much keeping the pace of the match. Pretty much a back and forth matchup, though. Legado del Fantasma showing great tag team work in this match. Wesley ends up hitting the finish on Gibson, pins him for the 3, and your winners of the match and new NXT Tag Team Champions are MSK. Again, phenomenal match, man. MSK, the first night you heard Beth Phoenix on commentary stating that, this tag team kind of reminds her of the Hardy Boys, and I'm not going to disagree with her. They're a very up-and-coming tag team, and very high-paced, man. High flyers, fantastic tag team. Every single team that was actually involved in this match, in my honest opinion, were phenomenal tag teams. From the Grizzled Young Veterans to MSK to Legado del Fantasma, man. Fantasma was a fantastic tag team. Absolutely fantastic, man. All high flyers. Fantastic stuff. I thought originally that the Young Veterans were going to win this match, but MSK ended up, pulling it out, and hats off to them for getting the win and becoming the new NXT Tag Team Champions. Moving on from that, we go into our main event on night one. It is Io Shirai defending her NXT Women's Championship against Raquel Gonzalez. Starting off the match, Gonzalez keeping the pace of the match, showing her strength. Io hits a hurricanrana off the top rope on Gonzalez. That was absolutely devastating. Gonzalez then hits an elbow drop on Io in the middle of the ring. Io gets up, hits a 619 on Gonzalez. Io then hits a moonsault off the top rope on Gonzalez as well. Io then hits a crossbody off the top of the skull on Gonzalez. Now, if you guys watch NXT, the Takeover, you saw the skull. That was a part of the stage structure. She jumped off that, hit a crossbody on Gonzalez. That was just absolutely brutal, man. Great spot in that match. After that, Gonzalez ends up hitting the finish on Io, pins Io for the 3, and your winner of the match and new NXT Women's Champion is Raquel Gonzalez. Now, personally to me, in my previous predictions, I had Io Shirai winning this match. I didn't think she was going to lose. Not taking anything away from Raquel Gonzalez. I think she's a fantastic athlete and a good competitor. I just didn't think it was time for Io to drop the belt yet. Now, in my opinion, because Io had dropped the title to Raquel Gonzalez, I can definitely see Io Shirai moving to the main roster, possibly after WrestleMania. Could be on Raw or SmackDown, but I think that's her future next. So, hats off to Raquel Gonzalez for getting the win in this match. Moving on to night two, personally I thought it was a great night. Starting off night two, we go into our first match. It is Jordan Devlin versus Santos Escobar for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship in a unification bout in a ladder match. Starting off the match, Devlin and Escobar both exchange in the middle of the ring. Devlin hits a standing moonsault on Escobar. Devlin then hits an acai moonsault on Escobar to the outside. Escobar then throws Devlin into the ladder. Escobar then hits a dropkick using the ladder on Devlin. Devlin then gets up, throws Escobar into the ladder. Escobar then goes to throw Devlin off the ladder, but Devlin turns it into a DDT instead. Escobar then hits a tope suicida on Devlin into the ladder on the outside. Escobar then hits a jumping knee strike on Devlin. Devlin then gets up, hits a springboard cutter on Escobar that was absolutely brutal. Devlin then hits a moonsault off the ladder on Escobar. Then Legado del Fantasma show up. They end up throwing Devlin off the ladder. Devlin then gets up, hits a Spanish fly off the top of the ladder on Escobar. That was a brutal spot in this match. Devlin and Escobar both exchange on the top of the ladder. Escobar ends up hitting a headbutt on Devlin, sending Devlin off the ladder to a ladder in the corner down below. Escobar then grabs the championships, and your winner of the match is Santos Escobar. Again, fantastic match. The one thing I will say, though, about this match is that to me, it looked like Santos Escobar kind of looked a little scared to be on the top of that ladder, in my honest opinion. I thought we were going to see more, especially with high flying, especially them being, cruiserweights, 205 Live. We didn't really get much of that. Now, credit, we did get a little bit of that out of Jordan Devlin. I think he's a phenomenal athlete, a great cruiserweight. He was a great champion, in my honest opinion. Now that Santos Escobar won, we're going to see what's next for Santos. To me, this was a great opening match for night two. Hats off to Escobar for getting the win in this match. After that match, we move into our next match on the card as well. It is The Way versus Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. Starting off the match, The Way attack Ember Moon and Shotzi. The Way is pretty much keeping the pace at that point. Shotzi hits a step-up enziguri on LeRae. Hartwell then hits a powerbomb with Ember Moon and Shotzi and Candice LeRae off the top rope. Shotzi then hits a tope suicida on LeRae and Hartwell. It looked absolutely brutal, man. She completely missed LeRae and Hartwell, and her head completely smacked that fence barricade ringside, man. It just looked absolutely brutal. Shotzi then gets up, hits a step-up enziguri on Hartwell. Ember Moon then hits an eclipse off the top rope on LeRae and Hartwell. Shotzi then hits what looks like a coffin drop off the top rope on Hartwell, pins her for the 3, and your winners of the match, and still NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, are Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. Again, not a bad match, man. Not a bad match whatsoever. And again, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart, man, they gel pretty good together, in my honest opinion, man. So hats off to them for getting the win in this match and retaining their NXT Women's Championship. Moving on from that, we go into our next match on the card as well. It is Johnny Gargano versus Bronson Reed for Gargano's NXT North American Championship. Starting off the match, Reed obviously showing his strength in this match. Reed lands devastating chops on Johnny. Gargano then gets up, pretty much trying to keep the pace of the match. Gargano then hits a devastating Frankensteiner on Reed. That was just absolutely brutal, and I don't even know how he did it. Bronson Reed is a unit. That guy is massive, and for him to pull off that Frankensteiner, man, absolutely awesome. Reed then throws Gargano into the ring. Reed then hits a powerbomb on Gargano. Gargano then gets up, hits 2 slingshot DDTs on Reed, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still NXT North American Champion, is Johnny Gargano. Great match, man. Honestly, this is the thing with Reed that I will say. Number one, he had to go through a lot night 1 in that gauntlet match to get the opportunity to face Gargano. Going into night 2, you're facing Johnny Gargano, man, one of the top dogs for NXT. You know, a top name for NXT, a guy that's been carrying an NXT banner on his back since he got there, man. And Bronson Reed, you know, he really gave it his all, man. The thing I will say else about Bronson Reed, he kind of gives me a Earthquake vibe. I don't know if you guys remember Earthquake from back in the day, but he kind of gives me Earthquake vibes and a little bit of like Bam Bam Bigelow, a little bit. Fantastic athlete, man. For a guy his size, he can definitely move. That splash, you couldn't pay me to take a splash from Bronson Reed, man. That guy is massive. That guy's a unit, man. Hats off to him, but again, hats off to Johnny Gargano for getting the win and retaining his NXT North American Championship. Moving on from that, we go into the next match on the card. It is Finn Balor defending his NXT Championship against Karrion Kross. Starting off the match, pretty much a back-and-forth matchup. Both guys are trying to, you know, feel each other out and see what they can do. Kross shows his strength, obviously, against Finn Balor. Finn is trying to work on the arms of Kross. Finn is keeping the pace of the match the best way that he can. Finn hits a missile drop kick, sending Kross into the corner. Finn then hits a coup de grace off the top rope on Kross, but Kross ends up pretty much just, you know, destroying Finn Balor. Ends up hitting a forearm smash to the back of Finn Balor's head, knocks him right out, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match and new NXT champion is Karrion Kross. Now, in my preview predictions, I had picked Kross to win this. I think it was just the right time for Kross, man. And technically, he never lost the title. Obviously, he had to vacate it because he got injured with his shoulder. In my opinion, I thought if Kross was going to lose this match, there was a very good chance that he might get called up to the main roster. Vince McMahon and, you know, his whole entire staff, you know, Vince loves the bigger athletes, man. Lars Sullivan, and we all know how that worked out. He just always had a thing for bigger athletes like Andre, Vader, Yokozuna. And Karrion Kross, to me, kind of fits that mold, man, of a guy that's just a unit, man. And I'm pretty sure if he didn't win this match, there was a good chance that he would have been called up to the main roster, and God only knows what would have happened if he went to the main roster, because it seems like anybody that goes from NXT to WWE doesn't really pan out for him too much. Moving on from that, we go into the main event of night 2. It is Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly in an unsanctioned match. Starting off the match, O'Reilly and Cole both exchange in the middle of the ring. Cole hits O'Reilly with a chair shot. Cole then hits a devastating neckbreaker on O'Reilly on a chair. Cole then applies a figure 4 leg lock on O'Reilly. O'Reilly ends up reversing the figure 4. Cole then hits a backstabber on O'Reilly. Cole then hits a Shining Wizard on O'Reilly as well. O'Reilly gets up, hits a devastating brainbuster on the announce table on Cole. Cole then gets up, hits an enziguri on O'Reilly. O'Reilly then applies a triangle choke on Adam Cole. Cole then hits O'Reilly with a tire iron, breaks the hold. Cole then gets up, hits the referee. Cole then hits a Panama Sunrise on O'Reilly. O'Reilly then gets up, applies a guillotine choke on Adam Cole. Cole then breaks the hold by putting him and Kyle O'Reilly through the stage. It looked absolutely brutal. Cole then hits a suplex on O'Reilly onto the steel steps. O'Reilly then gets up, hits a running knee strike on Adam Cole. O'Reilly then hits a knee drop using a chain wrapped around his boot and hits Adam Cole in the back of the neck. Pins Adam Cole for the 3, and your winner of the match is Kyle O'Reilly. Fantastic main event. Two things I'll take away from this main event, and I'm going to keep it 100% honest with you guys. Number one is the commentary. Beth Phoenix did a phenomenal job. Wade Barrett did a phenomenal job. Vic Joseph did not sell this match whatsoever. We had more stuff in the video package that was in the beginning of the show and before that match than we got from Vic Joseph. And some people may disagree, like, oh, well, you know, Michael Cole ain't no better. No, he's not. He's not. But at the same time, too, Michael Cole will sell a main event. Sell it like, you know, white bread, man. Like ketchup on a hot dog. Like it's nothing. You know what I mean? Vic Joseph, I don't know what the hell he was doing. I have no idea what the hell he was doing. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, you can't compare him to Mauro Ranallo. No, you can't. You can't. And the reason why you can't is because Ranallo is better. Ranallo, when he was with NXT, man, he got you hyped. He got you excited. He got you tuned in to the match. It can be anybody in that match, man, and he's going to get you invested in that match because the way that he does his commentary, he sells the match for the fans. He'll sell the match to you before the competitors even get in the ring. So imagine if he was calling that match last night between Cole and O'Reilly. Oh man, it would have been absolutely insane. The other thing I would say bad about this match is I feel, in my honest opinion, not saying it wasn't a great match, I feel like the match went on way too longer than it needed to be. I feel like the match went, 30, 40 minutes it seemed like? A little too long for me. Now, I will say this too, it does look like possibly Adam Cole might be on his way up to the main roster. There is nothing left for that man to do on NXT. Nothing. He's done it all. He's challenged them all. There's nothing more for him to do. Only problem is if he goes to the main roster, God only knows what they're going to do with Adam Cole on the main roster. He could be sitting in catering for quite a while. So, as far as this show is concerned, I always give these shows a rating. I'm going to give this show a 7.5, man. I'm not going to say it was the worst NXT TakeOver I've ever seen, but it definitely wasn't, the best. I had to give it a 7.5. The couple matches I took away from this card that I thought were really good was obviously Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly. Besides, the commentary from Vic Joseph and how long the match went. And Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez, man. Those ladies tore the house down on night one. And like I said, God only knows what's going to happen with Io Shirai next. I'm hoping she stays on NXT, but I can totally see her going to the main roster, possibly after WrestleMania. It could be on Raw, could be on SmackDown. So, this is my review of NXT's TakeOver Stand and Deliver. I hope you guys are out there staying safe, be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.